Morning, good afternoon, good evening, fabulites. This is Angela, and I have got questions for you. What opens with, Shamia kind of looking for a little crack in the window to reach back out to Portia, and what closes with Kenya saying non-verbally, "The window is closed! The window is closed! The window is closed!" to one of her BFFs. If you guessed The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 10, Episode 10, Storming Out, you're correct. This is Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking around to see how we get from opening to closing. Let us proceed. If you're not already a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe. If you are already a subscriber, thank you for being one of the 1,000. Mission for 1,000. Mission for 1,000. And if this is your first time here, welcome. And if not, welcome back. Okay, so we got Portia and her sister, and they at the truck loading for the Hosea Feed the Hungry and the Homeless for Houston, Texas event. So the Hosea Foundation, I should say the Hosea, maybe it's the Hosea Feed the Hungry and the Homeless Foundation, and they going to Houston. So we got a lot of H's. The Hosea is Portia's family foundation, I guess. And her grandfather was a civil rights activist. So she feels very proud to be continuing his legacy of service through this foundation and to be a part of it. We see a flashback of Portia inviting the ladies during the Elephant Room event to come help the Hosea Foundation do service in Houston, Texas. And the ladies are basically silent. And then Cynthia says that she'll think about it, and Portia says she'll send the link. So I think that Cynthia was the only one who said anything. And then we see Shamia calls Portia and says, "Hey, I saw your Facebook post that you're going to Houston, Texas, and I want to help however I can help. I want to be of service to the people there. I want to be down." And Portia's like, "I'll send the link." But will she? We don't know. Because I was thinking, oh, is that what happened? She didn't send the link, and then Shamia had to reach out to Kenya, because we saw in the preview, or I saw somewhere, But Portia says she doesn't know if she wants an apology from Shamia, but she just needs an acknowledgement that Shamia tried to humiliate her in front of Shamia's other friends. And they haven't spoken since Shamia's shower. Okay, so then we have Cynthia and Candy. They're at a restaurant, and Kenyatta texts and says that she's not coming. And they talk about the mess. There was the elephant in the room event, and Cynthia says that she is going to do going to the Hurricane Harvey. She's going to be doing some service in Texas, and she's co-hosting. She's hosting at an event in Texas around the same time that baby girl Portia's event is. And Candy, she asked Candy if she wants to come. And Candy is like, "Oh, it's a no, because I have responsibilities with my daughter, Riley." And Candy is like, "Well, are you going to go to Portia's event while you're there?" And Cynthia is like, "Well, I probably will I will if she comes to my event." Look, I'm trying to clean it up for Cynthia already. "I will if she comes to my event." And then Candy is like, "Folks would have been more open to going to Houston if you had invited them to your event." Candy is like, "I have donated money to hurricane relief, and I'm happy to do that, but what I'm not happy to do is walk down the street for Portia. So no, I'm not going to nothing that she have. Nathan, I'm not supporting Portia." So Kenya calls while they're sitting at the table, and Cynthia puts the call on speakerphone but gets up to take it outside, which I thought was interesting. Like, she's protective of Kenya. And Kenya says that she can't come. I guess she was expected at this. She can't come. Maybe she says that she can't. Oh, I think that when they get on the phone, Kenya has already texted to say that she can't come to the meal. But then when they get on the phone, Cynthia invites Kenya to come to Houston to support her event. And Cynthia expresses that she feels bad when Kenya says no, she can't come because she's tied up. Because Cynthia says, I always support Kenya and her stuff. So she's not feeling that their relationship is reciprocal. And then plus Cynthia says that she thinks that Kenya is super focused on being a wife and that she's rejecting friends. So, you know, I guess at the same time that she's disappointed, she's sort of analyzing what might be going on and why. Sheree is getting a call from Tyrone. I guess that's every show every episode she get a call from Tyrone. And Sheree is under the doctor's orders to not travel because of her back, so she can't go and do service in Houston, even the service of just, you know, being a face, because most of a lot of the work that they did was just, you know, as a public person, not as a normal volunteer. And then Sheree tells Tyrone about the Elephant Room event and about Nene. Sheree also tells him about Nene, you know, not acknowledging the problems that Nene has with Sheree, which Sheree thinks is Tyrone. And then Sheree tells us that Nene was pursuing Tyrone during Celebrity Apprentice. So she like, I don't know if she was with her husband or not at that time, but I know that she was pursuing, you know, this man. Now, I wonder if she has proof of that, because it's easy. I'm not saying that the man is lying, but sometimes, you know, just like it's like white Kim Zodiac said that you know, I'm not gonna let I wouldn't let Candy lick my box. You know, you can kind of put some stuff out there, whether it's true or not. You know, and some people will believe it, some people won't. But, you know, I feel like just because anyway, I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know who Nene is interested in and who she would or wouldn't deal with, but I don't know. Okay, so then we're in Houston, and Mal is Cynthia's sister, and Portia and her sister are in the truck. They're doing an event exchange. So Cynthia is doing Portia's event, and then Portia is doing Cynthia's event. So Portia is talking about her grandfather's legacy of service, and Portia talks about times when, you know, at the event she's talking kind of to people who have lost everything, and Portia remembers or tells us about times in her life when she and her mom were really, really struggling, like where, you know, she says that they were digging in the cushions to find money to get a dollar meal or something like that. Yeah, so, you know, she can relate and she feels empathy and sympathy for them. Shamia shows up at the shelter. I'm like, get your screen time, girl. Go on to Houston. And Portia feels it's a weird way to make amends. And I feel like, I feel like it's a good way to get screen time. And it's a good way to do service. And, you know, whatever. We see Candy with Riley, her daughter, and Riley has her learner's permit. She's 15 years old, and she driving on the wrong side of the street. And her mama's like, you get on the right side of the street. Riley like, I'm just in the neighborhood. I'm like, why don't you be in the neighborhood of driving on the right side of the street, sister? Little sis. Riley has already told her mom. Candy lets us know that Riley says she's moving out as soon as she gets to be 18. And Cynthia's like, well, I don't know how she's going to do that unless she gets a job. And then Riley's dad block calls. And it's like he's calling for Candy, because he's like, oh, Riley's with you? Like, oh, okay. And he's letting Candy know that he has a new baby, is King. And Candy says she tells us that he's been doing better as a dad since we saw the meetup. What's the baby girl song? Better late than never is what they say. So her father has come into her life. He's late, but he has come into her life and he's been doing better. Riley is kind of dry when she's talking to her father, and Candy is kind of like, dang, every time her dad calls, she acts funny. And then Candy and Riley are going into the house, and we hear somebody busting out into tears, and then that's Riley crying because Candy is like, Riley, what's wrong? And then we hear a man's voice. He's like, what happened? Is that Todd? And then Candy is like, her dad just called. So I'm trying to figure out why Block, that's baby girl Riley's dad, is calling Candy. Like, I guess he's just friends with Candy and he wants to tell her he had a new baby, or tell her to tell Riley. But Riley is like 15 years old. It seems like he should be having a relationship with her, but I don't know. But I don't know why the child was crying. We do get a little more information later on. Then we see Portia. She's at a Houston radio station, and promoting her service event. So when they got into town, like they came into Houston, the Housewives of Atlanta came into Houston, the ones who came, and then they went to the Hosea Foundation, I think, and they were like packing up boxes and stuff, boxes or bags, or supplies and provisions for people who they were going to give them away to. And then now Portia is promoting, I guess, an event tomorrow. And then we see Cynthia and Mallory in the hotel. Cynthia's getting made up. Portia says she's on her way to Cynthia's event, Cynthia is like, well, what I can do and what's really important is keeping people's spirits up during a time like this. So she's like emceeing like a musical, like a concert type thing, to raise people's spirits, her and her sister. And her sister has a deep connection with Houston too. And then we see Portia and her sister, and Cynthia and her sister, and Shamia at the event. And we find out that Mallory lived in Houston for 46 years or 4 to 6 years. Now I'm like, 46? Well, how old is she? But and then we see Cynthia and Mallory on stage, and they bring Portia up, and Portia, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. She doesn't actually get on the stage. She talks from in front of the stage, but she does pledge $5,000 to the organization. Then we see Cynthia in her interview, and she's like, Houston has been good for my relationship with Portia, because I've always seen her at Portia as more of a taker than a giver, but since we've been in Houston, I'm seeing her in a different light. And then Portia leaves the event, and Cynthia and Mallory are still there. They're ministering to folks, listening and hugging, and hearing their stories and sympathizing. And then, surprise, surprise, Kenya shows up. Woo! And Kenya says that she had to move mountains to get to Houston, but she knew she had to do something because she has a Houston connection. So then we see Shamia and Portia in the hotel, and they're making up. They're doing their girlfriend thing, laying in the bed, chit chatting, laughing and talking. And I think Portia is like, we get to talk, not under the shade of the candy coated click tree. And Shamia apologizes. Portia accepts, and she says that she was very embarrassed and felt Shamia was showing out, and Portia wants to move on and not overreact to the situation. So the Habitat for Humanity event that we saw Kenya working at, and where she, when Shamia called, she kind of blew her off. This is Kenya's activity. It's not really an event, but since she was coming to Houston, I guess she moved heaven and hell, or moved mountains, in order to get to Houston this weekend to be a part of Cynthia's event. But really, I guess Bravo is like, look, if you're doing something for Houston, our cameras are going to be there this weekend. So if you want us to see you on camera doing something for Houston, come on out this weekend. Because Kenya got to Cynthia's event late. She volunteered with Habitat for Humanity, but you can call, my impression is that you can call Habitat anywhere, and wherever they're having a build, you can participate in it. You can volunteer or whatever. So that's what it seemed like Kenya did. It's not a special event she organized. And Shamia and Portia are talking. They're talking about Kenya's event, and Portia's like, well, her event is at 11 and mine is at noon. and Portia tells Shamia to go to Kenya's event on Portia's behalf. Portia kind of felt like it was like a little bit something that Kenya scheduled an event or scheduled an activity when she knew Portia's event was basically at the same time. And I think that's like Kenya's way of saying, no, I'm not going to your event, you know. Then we see in front of the hotel, we see Kenya, and she has a little clique, like her niece and nephew. You know, it's like 4 or 5 family members, like 2 or 3 kids and some cousins. And then we see Portia and her clique, like her, I think it's her mother and sister, I don't know, but they join, and they're kind of chit-chatting casually, cordially, politely, maybe not cordially, but politely. And then Cynthia comes down, and she's like, oh, you know, I'm going to Kenya's event, and I think we are coming over to yours later. And Portia is kind of like, oh, I'm like, you know, Cynthia's side piece. You know, now that her main man Kenya is here, she thinks she coming to my event before she was coming to my event. And, you know, yeah. Then we see Candy, and she's connecting with baby daddy Block, and trying to keep it positive, she says. So, you know, she's trying to be upbeat because she doesn't want every interaction she has with Block to be like her cussing him out or whatever. Or, you know, whatever, criticizing him or, you know, telling him what he's doing wrong. So Block is like, you know, well, how's Riley? And Candy is like, you know, she burst out crying after she talked to you. I think she wants to know when she's going to talk to you instead of being surprised. And I feel like, you know, we need to go to counseling because Candy wants to be a better model for Riley and how to interact with Block. And Block says, count me in. I was kind of surprised by that. I was glad that both parents were willing to do it because I do think it's kind of weird for the child at 15. You know, it's like, it seemed like it's a lot going on that her father can't call her. I mean, even if it's weird, I don't know why she would burst out crying. The only thing that I could think is that, like, when my father had his son, and my brother is 16 years younger than me, but as he's grown up, I feel like my father was way more involved with my brother's life than he was with my life. And except for the fact that I was like a grown person who had done a lot of emotional work, I mean, to me, it looked like he valued the relationship with my brother and more than he valued the relationship with me. But I can also look at it like he's older and wiser now, and he learned from how he interacted with me how not to interact with my brother. But I'm thinking maybe this child at 15 years old is like, oh, so he gonna replace me, he having other kids, he gonna be in their life from the beginning, he wasn't in my life from the beginning, and she feeling bad about that, or she feels hurt about it. Like stuff like that will hurt your feelings. So then we see Portia's event in Houston, and she says, it's great to host an event like Cynthia did, but my team planned our event. So then we see Kenya at Habitat, and she's comforting folks, you know, like, oh, you know, you lost your house. I'm so sorry to hear that, you know, and she's saying in the interview, no, you know, we got to get our hands dirty. You know, we ain't come here to play or look cute and dress up. When we come to do service, we come to work. I feel like everybody do service in different way. So team Real Housewives of Atlanta is suited and booted. That's Cynthia, Cynthia's sister, and Kenya. And they're going to help rebuild a house. They're going to be doing drywall, like, you know, real stuff. And then at Portia's, the turnout surpasses the 400 they were expecting, so they've run out of food. Then back at Habitat, Cynthia's like, well, can we take a water break? And Kenya is like, no, we're going to finish this up, and then I'm going to take a break. And Cynthia's like, I'm all for working, but can a sister get some water? You know, everybody ain't cut out for, you know, hitting it hard, you know. And then Shamia calls Kenya and is like, well, where do I come? I'm driving around and I can't figure out where you're at. And Kenya is like, ask the volunteers where we're at. And when I saw the clip, I thought that Shamia was like at the hotel, like, where are you at? And Kenya is like, ask the volunteers. I'm like, well, how's she going? But she's in the area, like, you know, it's probably a Habitat build, and she can probably just ask, where are the Bravo TV cameras? Where are the people who are filming? Where's Kenya Moore? You know, like, I feel like she could probably, and Kenya is like, you know, ask the volunteers. We're here doing work. work, girl. I'm not, here to be your personal secretary. Bye-bye. I didn't particularly care for how she handled the situation. And, but it's not as bad as I thought it was from the previews. And then we see Shamia arriving, and she's like, oh, I'm here, I'm glad to be here, and I'm here representing Portia, and blah 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 blah, and I'm so happy to be here. And Kenya is like, okay, let's talk and more work. You work on the garbage bags, we're doing this, blah 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 blah. We find out that Portia fed almost 200,000 folks. That's not right. I don't think they fed maybe 1,000 people. They were expecting 400, but anyway, they fed a whole bunch of people. And Portia expresses that she wishes that Cynthia had shown up, because she feels like she showed up at Cynthia's event and showed support, and so Cynthia should show up at the main public event and show support. Then we're at dinner, and Portia and her sister are there, Cynthia and her sister are there, and Shamia's there. Portia's sister is like, we were so super disappointed, Cynthia, that you didn't come. And Cynthia's like, I came and packed with you yesterday. What are you talking about? And then in the interview, Cynthia is like, Portia is lucky to have anybody from the group come and support any of her events. She needs to be grateful. And I guess Cynthia is like, shoot, I did something on Portia's event. Kenya's here. I'm going to do something with Kenya. I did my thing. I'm spreading the love around. You know what? And then Portia's thing is like, I was on stage at your event, so you need to be on stage at my event. Shamia is like, well, Kenya is kind of hit or miss, isn't she? And Cynthia is like, well, I don't see what you're talking about, but I think if you feel a way about how she spoke to you, you should talk to her. And then Kenya arrives, and Kenya, they joking like how Kenya was in her zone and she was working hard and, tearing down walls, and that's like her thing or whatever. And Shamia is like, yeah, Kenya made it look easy, but she made it feel hard. And when I called you, I felt like you were a little dismissive, girl. I like how Shamia addressed it. And then Kenya is like, hold on a second, I need water, because when she came in, she couldn't get food because the kitchen had closed. So she's like, I need water. And then Shamia keeps talking to her, and then Kenya's like, oh yeah, could you get me another cup of water? It's like she don't want to have the conversation, and she's saying that kind of in a rude way, I think. But and then Kenya is like, you are dismissed. Move on, Shamia. That's a better look, to just move on, because it's not about you. It's about the people of Houston. I'm tired. I'm hungry. Just let it go. She don't say she tired, she hungry, but I figure she's tired and hungry, and she want her to just let it go. And Shamia is like, I just feel, and Kenya is like, excuse me. And she gets up and she leaves the table. She goes to the bathroom, and then we hear her back and forth with the producer. These women always try to make me look bad no matter what I do. I don't care about none of them bitches at the table. And I'm like, oh my God, Cynthia's at the table. She don't care about Cynthia. But I guess her behavior kind of shows that. That's kind of how I feel. Her behavior has shown, more or less how she felt about Cynthia. Now, I think that Cynthia has tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. I think it's also weird because they're filming this television show, so it's like an awkward thing, like your relationships aren't pure because you're doing some stuff for the camera. But I think that Cynthia, in light of the fact that they're on a reality show, has tried to demonstrate friendliness. That's how it looked to me from the outside looking on. But before she went into the bathroom, Cynthia had said, as the conversation was going back and forth, Cynthia said, well, people felt like you were being rude, and you were just in your zone. And Kenya is like, Cynthia, you were there the whole time. I wasn't rude. So I don't know if she felt like Cynthia was attacking her. I didn't feel like Cynthia was attacking her. I felt like Cynthia was trying to help mediate the conversation that was going on, but whatever. And so she back and forth with the producer. And then she's basically like, look, I'm married. I have a husband. I don't need this job anymore. Take the mic off of me. It's a wrap. I'm done. So, take this off. Then Portia comes into the bathroom and she's like, you okay? I guess the producer sent her in there because she had the mic on. And Kenya is like, yeah, I'm fine. Out, cameras, out. Get out, damn spot. Out, damn spot, And then Kenya leaves the restaurant and she gets into a car. And meanwhile, Portia goes to the table and tells the table that, hey, y'all, Kenya took her mic off. She's leaving. She's not dealing with the cameras. And Cynthia's like, oh, let me go see what's up. So Cynthia goes out to Kenya's car and Kenya doesn't roll the window down. Then she eventually rolls the window down. And Cynthia's like, girl, what's up? You okay? And Kenya's like, I'm leaving. I'm just not feeling well. You know, like really insincere. And Cynthia's like, wait, huh? And Kenya's like, bye-bye, and rolls the window back up. And Cynthia's kind of like walking away like, oh, okay. And that is the end of the episode. So, I think that Kenya feels whatever pressure she does to have love in real life, and she feels like her husband is going to provide it for her. And I think she's getting pressure from her husband about how she appears on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And he probably said, you know, you better go to Houston and be seen doing service and be seen working hard. That's what's good for your public image. And don't get into no mess and no confusion. And so I think that Kenya probably overreact, like, because, you know, you're on the show, it's going to be some mess and some confusion. But I just don't think that Kenya can navigate it very well, or hasn't really gotten that down yet. I like her when she's bubbly and friendly. This dismissive, mean girl, Kenya, I didn't so much care for. And I didn't feel like Shamia was out of line, at least the way it appeared to us on camera. But anyway, Angela, the channel is Be Fabulous You. Thank you for being one of the 1,000, the first 1,000 subscribers. Small channels need your help. I'm one of those small channels, so go ahead and subscribe. Theoretically, I got a month to get 1,000, although that's to get, if you're monetized, you're gonna get demonetized. But I never really understood how my monetization worked. So, you know, with all, you know, so that's a whole nother conversation. But we are working on 1,000, working on 1,000. Today's the best day ever, the best day ever. You be fabulous, be fabulous. You be you, be fabulous, you. Peace, y'all.